Hey everybody, welcome to the Citizen Sports Weekly. Look who's back.
I am still not Chris Sciria. He's off playing Pokemon Go, I think, or something like that. Is that what all the cool kids are doing nowadays?
My sources say he's playing Pokemon Go.
Is he actually though? Oh, okay. I thought I'd seen on Twitter that he had been playing it, but maybe not.
His daughter's big into it, I understand, but unfortunately Chris has not embraced the latest craze.
Neither have I, and I'm proud of it.
I must say, it's odd that we're starting a sports video with this, but hey, it's summer, we're freewheeling it. I have played it, and it's interesting to see the people out there just kind of randomly, you know what they're doing, because, this thing is just taken off. And even in Auburn, I've seen like 15 or 20 people in the past couple days out and about playing this game. It's wild.
I completely live under a rock, maybe even a bigger of a rock than Chris, if that's hard to believe as that might be. What exactly is Pokemon Go? I kind of understand what it is that you're finding Pokemon, but have people actually placed them there, even, virtually?
Yeah,
or does it just kind of simulate that, we'll just pretend there's a Pokemon here and you can go, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to dumb it down and call it they call it a location-based reality game. So it's using your phone, it's, traveling to these different points, and there's different stops and different landmarks, things like that. And, your goal in the game is to, collect certain items, things like that. So it's kind of like an adventure game, in the real world. Like, you have to actually go around.
Yeah, I've heard it actually kind of compared to geocaching.
I love that the Sports Weekly video has started off on this note.
That's right. We can only go downhill from
this
here.
Would never happen if Chris was here. But
I don't know if that's a compliment or
no,
not that you're saying that this would
happen. It's a
compliment.
Yeah, because we're opening it up. So it's it's weird that it's taken off, but I guess they released it, I believe, on July 6th.
Oh, okay.
So so it's been out there for about a week now, and it's quite popular. So top grossing app on I know the Apple Store. So.
And I heard it might actually, if it hasn't already, might actually surpass Twitter for daily users. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's one of those weird, like, transcend generation things. Like, I remember growing up and I wasn't huge into Pokemon. I knew what it was, but I didn't really embrace it. But, even I got into this game because I think it's fascinating how, I think there's a future, for games like this that, really get people, off the couch, more so than like a Nintendo Wii would, and get people out and about to almost like a scavenger hunt type thing. I think, if you had something similar like that, and implemented it in history lessons, I mean, our kids would be better off.
It'd be perfect in Auburn.
So I just turned this into a political video now. So video games, politics.
Yeah,
we're on a roll here with the Sports Week.
And on that note, we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers.
There we go. There's the segue.
I used to call myself the token Green Bay Packers fan in the office, but now there's two of us, so...
It's true. The Ritz.
A little bit of affirmative action, maybe, increasing our Green Bay Packers numbers. I don't know.
Politics again, folks. Soon we'll be talking about Trump Clinton on this video.
I think you said that you and Chris already talked about the Dolphins and Bills schedules, but...
So we talked about Trump and Clinton already? This is a joke.
Oh, okay.
Bills, Dolphins, crap.
But I don't know if that has to do with Trump and Clinton, but I just wanted to renew my yearly tradition of predicting a 16-0 regular season for the Green Bay Packers. And I'm actually kind of confident in it. Of course, I was last year, and, we saw how that turned out. And actually, that wasn't a bad season.
No.
Bad maybe by Packer standards, but, I mean, to go, I think it was 10-6 regular season.
As a Bills fan, I
almost
think you
get to the championship. Yeah, for sure. Hey, you beat us last time we played.
That's true.
My only, I don't want to call it a concern, but December 11th against the Seattle Seahawks, that's the only obstacle I see to a Green Bay 16-0. Although it is in Green Bay, so.
Sure.
And it is in December.
Yeah.
It's going to be cold.
Yeah, just looking at the schedule here, because this is the first time I'm seeing the Packers' schedule. Man, that's a pretty good schedule.
And it's interesting that the last 3 games, week 15, 16, 17, is conference games. So
yeah,
that'll be interesting to see who's ahead in the conference, what the implications are playoff-wise, or not conference, I'm sorry, division. Getting my terms mixed up.
I got what you.
It's the Heat.
It is the Heat. But yeah, I mean, looking at the Packers slate, looks like they got a healthy number of primetime games in there too. So that's expected being the Packers.
Yeah, people like watching good teams in primetime, Robert.
Shocker.
That's why I don't put the Bills on. No, how do you feel about the Bills this season? It seems like they got the same coach. I think you never heard as many player rumblings as you did last year when they were making a few acquisitions.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how the Bills defense fares now that Rex has had a season under his belt. He I guess if you listen to what he says, he tried to have like some sort of hybrid where he mixed in the previous defensive coordinator's plan with his own. This year he's going 100% with his own. So we'll see how the defense does. Obviously they made that a priority in the draft and made some improvements there. So we'll see how they do. I am cautiously optimistic, we should say.
Are they going to break the streak?
I think it's close. I think their schedule has certainly I think more favorable than unfavorable opponents. So I think they certainly have a shot at it on paper. But as we've seen in the NFL, injuries can take a toll. Other things can factor in, and so that's why they play the games, as Chris Berman says. But I think the Bills have a legitimate shot at the playoffs this year. I think if Tyrod Taylor is able to repeat and even improve upon what he did last season, I think that the Bills will be in good shape. So, and they have a ton of weapons on offense. The defense I think will be better. So, you build off that and hopefully make a playoff run. So, but so obviously having you on here, we've got to talk NASCAR.
Of course we do, and we're exactly halfway through the whole season.
Crazy to think.
8 races until the chase, but 18 through, 18 to go overall. Keselowski's on a roll.
Yeah. Third win, right, at Kentucky?
Third win at Kentucky, I think, is 3rd or 4th this season.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah.
He's always in the conversation.
He really is, but, last year seemed all about the Gibbs drivers and his teammate Joey Logano. This year it's kind of role reversal at Penske, and it's Brad. They're both doing strong, don't get me wrong, but Brad Keselowski seems to have the edge among the Penske drivers, so...
What do you think of Kentucky as a track?
I think it's a great addition. It's still a 1.5 mile track, which, me personally, there was a period when they were adding tracks and it was all 1.5 miles, and I'd like to see, more short tracks, more road courses. But for Kentucky, it's kind of a little bit unique than some of the other ones they've added, like Kansas and Chicago are ones that come to mind. And I know the past couple of years they've tried some different aerodynamic packages at Kentucky, using that as kind of the testing within a race. They just repaved the track, so it's a great track.
Sure.
The newest one on the circuit as far as the Cup Series. Seems to always produce some pretty exciting racing. Saturday night under the lights in the summertime, you can't get much better than that.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I actually drove by, you mentioned Kansas. I drove by Kansas when we took our semi-cross-country trip last year, and, it just impresses me that, NASCAR is reaching into these territories where, you think of Kansas, you think of Kentucky. They don't have your major professional sports.
Yeah.
And so, to, really appeal to those markets, and, I know the Kansas track, we saw it from the road, looks beautiful.
Sure.
So, I just think it's good for expanding outside of, I know that they do it, like Chicagoland, obviously, they're used to sports, even Michigan and, some of these other places, but, to dip into those markets is always a good thing, so.
Did I ever tell you where I went on vacation, speaking of NASCAR tracks?
No.
We
Perfect time to tell your story.
We went to a wedding in Alabama, and it happened to be only about 40 minutes from Talladega.
How about that?
So they have the International Motorsports Hall of Fame there, and then of course you can take a lap around Talladega on the bus. I mean, you're not going at speed obviously, and you're not even on the banking because they tell you have to be able to maintain like 80, 90 miles an hour to stay on the banking, and
Probably
that bus probably couldn't have done it without tipping over. So but that was neat to see. Just you don't really appreciate. I mean, they tell you it's 33 degrees of banking. And you're like, yeah, that's pretty big, but you don't really, truly appreciate it until you're like actually seeing it, and you're just looking at it, and it's like a wall of concrete almost,
Yeah, I remember there was something on TV I was watching once, and you don't appreciate that that fact with some of these tracks and the banking until you actually see it, and I'm guessing seeing it up close is a different experience. But even on TV,
sure,
like seeing a look from the cameraman's eye. Into the banking, you're like, wow, that's gotta be crazy to just look at, because you're like, how do cars go around this? But
very carefully.
Yeah, very carefully indeed. So why don't we close with some baseball? Because I know.
Yeah, I kind of jinxed the Mets last week, so I want to apologize to Terry Collins and the crew. Kind of a rough set against the Nationals. We took one game, and then Nationals took the last three. So.
Yep. Yeah, I watched I watched parts of I think all three of the Nationals wins, and that was a fun series for those of us who root for the Nationals anyway.
Yeah. You know what though? Looking at the last 30 years or so of being a Mets fan, I mean, to be second in July is not a bad spot to be in. I think we're, if not winning the division, I think we're in pretty good shape for a wild card, maybe.
Yeah. I mean that's
because if I remember right now, they do 2 wild cards, right? Although I mean, only one really goes on because they kind of go head to head. But
right. But yeah, they do 2. So I mean, that's the nice thing about the system now is that even if you're not in contention for your division, title, you have a shot at one of those 2 wild cards if you're in that second spot. So. I mean, anything can happen. That's the thing with the playoffs. Even if you limp in and let's say you get that final wild card spot, and basically it's a play-in game from there. You play, play one game. You win that game, and you're in. That's one step.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Anything can happen in the baseball playoffs because it's so wide open, and there's so many factors that go into it. I think more so than any other sport, when you're talking 7-game series, that if your pitching is off, for a few days, I mean that can cost you, even the best teams. So, but yeah,
the Mets are doing better than the Yankees. That's
very
something
true.
We can all be proud of.
That's very true. Yeah, the Yankees. The Yankees have been struggling, so pitching's an issue. They have a lot of young players, which take some time to get them into the groove of things. I mean, look at Boston; they had a bunch of young players. Within the past year or two, they had their share of struggles. Now look where they are.
Sure.
They're right in contention. So, it's fun, and they're in the All-Star break right now. They won't resume play until Friday, I believe. They had the All-Star game last night. The American League won again, which means if either of our teams make the World Series, we get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Because we'll be the road team for 4 of the 7 games if it goes that far. So, hey,
guess we'll see.
Whatever.
Hey, just to make the World Series, I can tell you it's a pretty good feeling. Yeah. Especially thinking Mets fan.
You do have that on me. I will say that. Recent trip, 2015 NL champions, the Mets. So, but yeah, anything else? Because Chris will be back next week.
He will be back next week. This is my chance, huh?
So this is your chance to get something off your chest.
Looking forward to the Olympics, of course. They're coming up.
I mean, yeah.
You want to talk about politics? I mean, there you go. I mean, what better way to be all America than watching the Olympics?
Yeah, let's close on the Olympics because I do want to say, I'm a golf fan. I love to watch golf. I like to play it, even though I'm not very good. I like to go out on the course. There's a few guys here that play golf here at the Citizen, and it's one.
I'm not one of them. I'm not even good at mini golf. So
it's one of those things. It's relaxing or whatever. But I follow golf probably more than most sports, and I'm disappointed that a lot of some of the best players in the world have pulled out of the Olympics. To some degree, I get it, but there's also the fact that this is the first Olympics that they're doing golf. At least in the modern games, I believe. So, or at least within the past several decades. So, to see that McIlroy's not playing, Jordan Spieth's not playing, Dustin Johnson, these guys that the biggest names in golf, it's a little disappointing. I would like to see them participate, and I know that there's concerns to weigh, but I think it's just good for the sport that they do it. So.
Well, yeah, I know we were kind of talking about this a couple of weeks ago. I saw an article in USA Today mentioning these big name golfers that are pulling out, and the point of that article is how disappointing that is when you think of what was taken out of the games to put golf in. I think it was softball that got taken out, and the columnist made the point that for golf, the Olympics isn't the end-all, be-all. There's the Masters, all kinds of tournaments and things like that. But for softball, obviously not really a big sport outside of the college level. The Olympics is it. That's if you're in the Olympics, that's
Yeah, that's
your thing. That's your Masters.
Yeah, that's the top of the mountain, and that's where just to name a couple softball players, that come to mind. Jenny Finch, certainly a legend in the sport and an Olympian, and she in part came to prominence because of the Olympics, and Jessica Mendoza, who's on the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball crew now, she was a softball player, and I know that they have professional leagues and that kind of thing, but nothing compares to the attention that you get with the Olympics. And, there's a lot of sports in that boat too, even some that are, you look at even sports like, gymnastics. Where do you make your living in gymnastics?
Yeah,
it's based on how you do at the Olympics. So, for golf, I think it's unfortunate that they have that spot, and, I think they hoped that they would draw a great, collection of golfers for that. And they still have some good names that are going, but, when your top 4 players in the world take a pass on it,
yeah, sure.
I think it, you look at it and say, what's going on here? What did we do wrong? Is this the right thing to do? It might be time to rethink that decision. But yeah, the Olympics for sure. Looking forward to that because, it'll be a fun couple weeks, and yeah. Been a good couple weeks having you on the show.
A good couple of weeks.
It's good to have a reliable replacement for one Chris Sciria.
That's the nicest thing Robert's ever said about me.
It's true.
At least on the video.
It's true.
Hey,
there's proof of it too.
Maybe we can figure out a way to get Sciria off, next week
or next month.
Yeah, there you go. We just keep this rolling for a while, all the way through the chase, all the way to Homestead, as they say.
Monfiletto momentum. But yeah, so it's been good having you on. Chris will be back next week. I don't know about the week after. Maybe we'll have to go to Moneybags again. I have no idea. Chris's schedule in July is he's taking advantage of his vacation time. So
it's almost like he timed it for the Pokemon Go launch.
Probably.
It's like a conspiracy there.
It is. Hey, it's one of many of my Sciria theories. I'll tell you that. But thanks for joining us as always. As always, thanks to Moneybags for coming on again.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week with the Citizen Sports Weekly.